Good afternoon and welcome to another JunoViewer webinar. Today we're going to talk to you about batch reporting or generating reports in a nice easy way using the JunoViewer framework and the tools within it. So to get us started, I will share my screen and we will show you where to start. So we're in the training account for JunoViewer, as you can see, and under the training account, we first of all have to get a template. So obviously when we're running a batch report, there's, in summary, 3 different ways generally you can run a report. You can run a report on a combination of sites, very similar to the segment groups, where you can have a whole bunch of groupings together. The other way, you can run a report on each individual site. So that means, again, it's down to the naming convention. And then the third report is really around maintenance activities. Now, for the maintenance activities, that's on a site-by-site basis. So there's no grouping at this stage. But if people are interested, we can start to group that as well. So to get to the template, first of all, under the JunoViewer menu framework, you'll see here the Tools menu at the very end. And you'll see an option here called Report Generation. So if we click into here, you can see now, please ignore the bottom half. That's if you've got multiple networks. For most people, we'll only have one network to look at. But the batch report is the main feature. And under here, you'll see there's a template example. So of course, you just need to click to download the template example, and it'll download as a spreadsheet. And then you'll save that wherever you save your key templates. I recommend to stick them in a folder for future reference. And what will end up is something that looks a bit like this. Now, obviously, here's some that I've done before. What I've managed to do, and you'll see it's a pretty similar layout to the segment group layout, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But we have a grouping of, or a name that you want to apply, and that there will become the title of the chart. We have the network reference, so just in case you do have multiple networks, you can define which network to look at. And again, you can look at groupings across networks as well. Now, for my example, we only have one network to look at, but if you were in an account that had multiple networks, you could, for instance, look at foam bitumen sites and look at many different networks or sites across different networks and bring them into a single report. So it's quite powerful in that way. Then we've obviously got the section ID. We have the name, we have the lane. So again, the report could be done by the lanes if you have the lane information. We have a start and we have an end. That's pretty straightforward. Now that's each site. So for instance, I've got another one here called rehab sites, and you can see I've got broken them into different groups. So I've got 2008 rehabs, I've got 2014 rehabs, I've got 2017 rehabs. And I wanted to look at the performance of those as a group of how all my rehabs in that year were behaving or performing. And then I've given another example here for asphalt sites. So I can look at the difference between my different types of asphalt surfacings that I've put down. And again, you can see the list can be quite extensive should you want to do it. So once you've created your template and you've saved it, you then of course need to go back into JunoViewer, use your other feature of uploading a file with your icon, personal icon, and then uploading a file, or of course you can go to the manage, upload, download area and upload this template. So once the template is uploaded, you'll then see within the reporting facility, there's currently 3 reports available. Like I discussed, we've got maintenance payment analysis, and I'll explain how we can alter these as well. But that's obviously your payment costs or activities for the past 10 years. We have the favorite trends on Big 4. So that means all of the Big 4 parameters being the rutting, roughness, skid resistance and texture, surface texture. Again, we'll show you how to change parameters should you want to look at different parameters. And then we've got a nice report for just rutting and roughness if you're just interested in rutting and roughness. So to give you an example, I'm going to pick on the rutting and roughness. I've done a template already called Batch Report Template under the training. And under here, you'll see those names that were similar on my spreadsheet, which was here. AC sites, rehab sites are now available with regards to this pull down list. So I'm going to look at my rehab sites. I'm interested in the rutting and roughness on these sites, and let's go and have a look. So if I generate the report. Now, as you could understand it, obviously it's doing a lot of work in the background that needs to be computated. So it's going to go away into the running processes and generate that for us. So that's going to take you away, and there we go. So it's initiated. Here's obviously some ones I've done just recently to give you an example. So for instance, it will eventually come up as a completed back running process. You'll then just be able to download this, and it will ask you to save it somewhere. So you'll just save it again somewhere useful for your own reference. Then you'll be able to open up the report. And of course, the one that I'm giving you here is a big four, roughness and rutting for my SMA sites. So again, these are the standard reports which are generated from the system, but within the report, you've obviously now got the statistical sort of information for each one of the surveys relative to those sites. It gives you the 10th percentile, the mean, and the 90th percentile, and it also gives you the trailing maximum sort of range of what the values are. So that's the rutting and the left wheel path, and this is a NASRA for each one of those sites. And here's the report for my asphalt site. So again, it's got a heading, we get a figure title and a number, and we get a nice chart showing us this behavior that we're seeing from all the condition data that we've got. So we also have the Big Four, which is another report that we've got here. So again, the Big Four report will come out and look like this, where we've got rutting in the left wheel path for all my 2005 rehab sites, for my roughness for all my sites, my texture, and you can clearly see in 2020 something happened on, don't know how many, there's what, 102 records. So they must have all had a second coat seal, or something took place in December 2020, and we get our scrim performance as well. And if we scroll down, we get the behavior on the 2008 rehab sites, we get the behavior on the 2000 rehab sites, and so on and so forth. So again, back to that template, it was linked through to all these headings that we have inside here. So you could see the 2008 was actually the same location. So that made sense that the texture changed at that point in time. Finally, we also, of course, have now in theory, this should not take too long to run. There we go. So it has been completed, and the same process. So if you wanted to run many reports, again, you can set up that template with as many sites as you wish. To give you an example of the maintenance, again, what I'll do is we need to pick that file that we've already uploaded. We can look at our rehab sites, the maintenance, and again, generate report. So in theory, it seems to be a pretty straightforward process. Now, if, for instance, you were looking at this report and you were saying, well, actually, I would like to look at my rut in the right wheel path. Well, there is a way you can edit the parameters that are displayed within this report. And to quickly show you that, that's actually sitting under your XML control. So edit XML Setup is where we can start to adjust the report features, which is quite beneficial if you're starting to have additional data sets that you're interested in. So again, if I go into my Manage XML, and you'll see I have an option here called Batch, which of course stands for the batch reporting. And here I've got my batch report for maintenance analysis. So you can see I've got some options here to how far back in time I'd go, the overlap with regards to the maintenance to the site, and obviously what groups or what maintenance categories, if I have some options available to me to consider for my reporting. And again, for my multiple trend, which is basically the Big Four, you'll see here I have rut mean in the left, NASRA, texture mean, and scrim. Of course, we also have how many years to include, so how far back. We how to group the surveys together, which is a standard JunoViewer approach of combining surveys into a singular survey. And that's quite important when you're looking at multiple sites that may have various times for the survey. And also what statistics are going to be provided. So it's 90th percentile, median, or 10th percentile. We also have the show tails as false. And again, this is for the Big Four. And I think just to prove what we were referring to there, that on the Big Four, you see there's no tails. So again, if we wanted to show the extent of the full data set, we could show that as true. You can also set the font size as well for all of the features sitting within the report. Now, if we're saying, well, I'd like to actually look at my rut and my right wheel path, and I'm not interested in my scrim, I would just go into Edit Current Setup. I would then, over the side here, you'll see a list of all the data parameters which are currently available within your network. And you'll see that I have one here called, actually I don't have a right wheel path, but I have a maximum in the left wheel path. So let's have a look at that one. So what I would need to do is basically type it in, rut max in left wheel path. Okay, now we've changed it. So again, just check the wording and the spelling and the capitals. Check and save. It says A short. Okay, updated. So now if I was to go back to my report generation and to look at my trends on the Big Four, I would pick that file that I had before because the sites are still the same sites. I could pick on rehab sites and generate report. So now what will happen is the report will basically, instead of showing me the scrim server, previous output here, down the bottom right-hand corner, we had the scrim, and we're saying, well, from a rehabilitation point of view, I'm not too worried about scrim, but I am worried about my maximum rut. We've now changed the report, and obviously before we do that, let's go and have a look at the maintenance report that was reported, just to show you what that looks like as well. So if I was to run the maintenance activity, remember it's a 10-year history, and we're looking at all the maintenance activities on a site-by-site basis. So again, up the top here, we're getting the maintenance on this location between the start and ends for all lanes between June 2012 to June 22, and only the cost group of PA for pavement repairs. So now we can see when it was done, what was done, how many were done, and how many were done in each year for each individual site. So again, pretty useful if you're wanting to do some detailed project level analysis on your rehabilitation sites and understand when, obviously you need to understand when the site was actually rehabilitated relative to when these activities were undertaken. But that's up to you as when you're starting to investigate your information. So just to double check now, our report is run. See, it only takes about a minute. We'll download this new report now where we should be able to see the maximum rut value in the left wheel path for all our rehabilitation sites. And here we go. So now we've got the rut mean in the left, we've got the NASRA, we've got the texture, and we have the rut max in the left wheel path as well for all of these sites. So there you go. That's a quick overview of all of the features that we have available to us in the report generation. Hopefully you can use this in future reference to generate the reporting to your requirements and to what you're sort of looking at within your analysis, and it'll help you out. And I do find it very useful to use this reporting if you're just wanting some quick idea of what's going on and something you can provide evidence to your internal or your external people around the sites that you're investigated. Very good for looking at historic performance and achievement relative to the work that you've done, as well as evidence to support what you're planning to do. So thanks you very much, and hopefully that's useful, and we will catch you all next time. Thank you.